Here is a realistic step-by-step guide to lose body fat and get shredded for summer. We're gonna cover 5 simple steps today, starting with step number 1 is gonna be focus and adherence. Just focusing on the absolute basics will yield 90% plus of the results. The basics simply include your nutrition, your training, and your consistency. That's literally it. Of course, there are always going to be other factors that will make this either easier or harder to stick to, but just keep in mind that sustainability and adherence should always be at the top of mind. The first thing we need to do is figure out your starting calories and macros, so let's do that first. The easiest way to get a starting point is using an online TDEE calculator like this one here. Simply plug in your starting stats and this will give you a rough TDEE number. Now, all that number means, and that fancy word TDEE means total daily energy expenditure, pretty much means if you eat that, you're gonna stay the exact same weight. But obviously, you don't wanna do that. You wanna get shredded for summer, so we just need to eat under it. And honestly, anything under that, you will start losing weight and you're gonna start losing body fat. But you wanna do it at a sustainable speed where you're not gonna go too fast, where it's like a crash diet. You're gonna be hangry, moody, you're not gonna be able to stick to it, but you don't wanna go so slow that it's gonna take you 3 years just to get shredded for summer. So you wanna find that balance. So what I personally find works best is about 20% below that number. That way it's gonna be personal to you, and this generally works pretty well. So once you have that number, now we need to figure out your macronutrients. So your protein, carbs, and fats. And honestly, like we said, just focusing on the absolute basics, you're just gonna start by focusing on your protein intake. So you're gonna focus on that calories and then the protein intake. So your protein should be in between about 1.7 to 2 grams per kilogram of your body weight. Now, if you do have a lot of body fat, you can obviously come a little bit lower than that, but ideally, it would be in that range somewhere. And then the rest of those calories are simply gonna be filled with carbs and fats, and that's gonna be personal preference depending on the foods that you like best. So you got your starting calories, but Alex, how do we actually track these calories? So all you're gonna need is a kitchen scale. You can grab one from Kmart for like 10 bucks if you don't have one, and your phone. Now from here, you just need a calorie tracking app. I personally use MyFitnessPal just because I've used it for like 10 years and it's very, very easy. I still use the free option. You don't need to get the paid one, but you can use any calorie tracking app that you like. Just make sure it's something that you can easily stick to and you'll be good. So here's a quick example of how easy this can be. Let's say I want to have this protein shake. All I do is pull out your calorie tracking app, go to the barcode scanner, and then you simply scan the back of the barcode. Now this is going to log in the calories and all the macronutrients. You click tick and that's logged in for the day. Now you can see it's deducted 171 calories from my daily totals, which you've already plugged in earlier because we've already figured out, and you're good to go. Now that's the easy option because obviously this is like a single serve thing. You're gonna drink the whole protein shake, but if it's something that you obviously have to weigh out, fruits, veggies, meats, etc., or ice cream, and yes, you can eat ice cream to lose fat. We'll get to that in a minute. All you gotta do, grab your kitchen scale. This is the easiest way. You can either put the bowl on the scale, add the ice cream in, or if it's something like this or peanut butter or whatever, chuck that on the scale and click on. Now this is gonna be at 0 grams. Now as I start taking that out and putting it into the bowl, it's gonna say negative whatever the grams, however much I want. And then same thing here. All I'm gonna do, I'm gonna scan the barcode of the Peters, chuck that on the scale, and then I'm simply gonna change the serving to 1 gram. And then I'm just gonna enter in exactly how much I have. So let's say I had 230 grams. I can chuck that in and we're good to go. We can see that's 275 calories. Sorted. And honestly, that's as simple as tracking your food needs to be. It's not overcomplicated. And I know it can feel a little bit overwhelming, like weighing out all your stuff and that, but once you've done it for a couple of days, honestly, it's very, very easy and quick. It may add an extra couple minutes of time onto your day, but it's well worth it because you know exactly how much food you're gonna be eating. Now, if you're thinking, Alex, that is great, but what food should I be? What food should I be eating? Well, the shitty answer would be whatever food you want as long as they fit in your macros, because technically that is true, but realistically, that will make it hard to stick to the plan. So a good guide that I personally use and use with all my clients is 80 to 90% of those calories should probably be coming through whole food sources. Now, this is pretty much everything like meat, veggies, fruits, whole foods, AKA non-processed. And then that last 10 to 20% can literally be whatever you want, AKA fun foods, your favorite foods, whatever you want to call it. The stuff that you know you really want to have on a diet, and you just make that fit into your calories, that last 10 to 20%. Now that 10 to 20% is used to help you sustain the approach, and the rest of the diet is going to help get your micronutrients, your vitamins in, and make you feel good on a daily basis. And to make it even easier for you, I'm going to chuck some examples on screen now of some good proteins and some carb sources that are going to fit into that 80% whole foods. If you want to screenshot that and use it as a guide, that will help. Now, the last thing to keep in mind with our nutrition is trying to feel as satiated as possible, because hunger is one of the biggest killers when it comes to losing body fat, sticking to a diet, sticking to your calories. So just making some good food choices will really help this. Now, if you follow that 80-20 principle or the 90-10, that will pretty much cover it, but not all the time. Let me show you some quick examples to really show what I mean here. So for example, let's say you're on the go, you go to the servo or something and you want a bit of a caffeine hit. This Masters Mocha, although of course you're gonna get your caffeine intake, you're also gonna get 500 calories just for this drink. Now, let's not even talk about how much liquid calories don't fill you up. And it's also got 20 grams of fat. So 20 grams of fat, 500 calories, you're not gonna be full. Now, if you were to swap this just for a normal almond latte, even oat milk, even normal milk, you're only looking at about 100 calories, 50 calories for an almond latte. You could literally have 5 of these or 10 for one of these. So that's one simple example. Another one using foods is gonna be, again, if you're on the go, stop for some Smoko break, go to the servo. This sausage roll, like, it's not even that big. This has 550 calories and 30 grams of fat. So that's not gonna leave you full and satisfied at all. Versus, you could literally get from the same servo, 7-Eleven, a banana, a protein bar, and a bag of beef jerky. All of this together is only about 420 calories and also 40 grams of protein. So, and obviously a lot more food and a few micronutrients in there as well. So 40 grams of protein, less calories, more filling. Again, just another simple example here. Now we could keep going with this all day, but just making those smart choices is gonna help you stick to those calories, not blow over because of hunger. Step 3 is gonna be training. Now, like I said at the start, this is a realistic approach to fat loss. So the best thing for training is always gonna be the approach, the program, the exercise that you can stick to. Hopefully you enjoy and you can sustain in the long run. But in saying that, I'm always gonna be 100% honest with you. And if you actually wanna get shredded for summer, if you want that shredded or that even just lean, muscular, toned, I know everyone loves that word. If you want that look in your body shape, then weight training is always gonna be the best option for that. Now, I would recommend you weight train at least 3 times per week with the intention of using progressive overload, which simply just means adding a little bit more weight or getting a couple more reps every single week. Now, like I said, you can lose body fat without weight training, of course, but you will probably just end up looking like a soggy udon noodle, and we don't want that. So some good guidelines for your weight training would be 3 to 5 times per week, like we said. If you wanna do 6, do 6. You want to be doing your rep range in between 5 to 30 reps. Anywhere in between there, if the sets are taken close to failure, 1, 2, 3 reps shy of failure or even 2 failure, will build muscle. I would also try to hit every muscle group twice per week. Obviously once at the bare minimum, but if you can hit twice per week or maybe even some of them 3 times per week, that's gonna work great. How many sets should you do? Obviously this is all has to be completely personalized to the individual, but a rough guideline in between 2 to 4 working sets per exercise will be a great spot. Now, the actual exercises that you pick will again completely determine on the individual, what gym they train at, their goals, and a whole host of different things. But to give a rough guideline, I'd recommend starting your sessions off with your compound movements. That's your bench presses, your pull-ups, your squats, things like that. And then towards the end of the session, you can move more into your isolation stuff, which is your bicep curls, your lateral raises, and things like that. Of course, that's just rough guidelines, but that is a great spot to start. And if you want a free program, here you go. I'll chuck it on screen. This is a very simple 3-day beginner routine that you can get started with. Step 4 is gonna be tracking your physical progress and making adjustments. Now, honestly, if you do steps 1 to 3 consistently, you will see some epic progress. But after epic progress, usually comes a plateau. But no biggie, this is how you fix it. So first of all, you actually wanna make sure that you're tracking your progress accurately. So you know when you've hit a plateau, it's an actual fat loss plateau and not just a tracking error, because you'll be surprised how common this is. People just don't track their progress correctly, or even worse, don't track any progress at all. And then it's just like throwing a dart in the dark and seeing if you're gonna hit the board. So to do this, I recommend keeping it nice and simple. So you're gonna want a weekly average scale weight and progress pics. You got those 2 things, you can track your progress very accurately. So for the weekly average scale weight, you're gonna have to weigh yourself in between like 4 to 7 times per week. I'll be 100% honest, weighing yourself every morning so you have more data is the best way to do it. Then you can take the weekly average, you compare that to the next weekly average and so on. Way more accurate. You can't just jump on the scale once per week because the scales fluctuate too much and that will never give you an accurate reading. And then of course the second way is gonna be progress photos because they never lie. So just try to take them in the same lighting at the same time of day, once per week if possible. To give a very rough guide, if you're losing weight in between 0.5 to 1% of your body weight per week, that is a really good rate to be in. Now I give this guide because some people get started on this journey and they feel like they're not losing enough weight and it just kills the progress because they try to go too fast. So for example, if I'm starting at 80 kilograms and I'm trying to drop say 5 to 6 kilos, if I'm losing in between 400 grams to 800 grams on average, that's why you need to take the weekly averages per week, that's a very good rate to be in, because let's just say we meet in the middle, I'm losing 600 grams per week. over a month, that's gonna be 2.4 kilos. So in 2 months, I'll have lost a good 4 to 5 kilos. Maths is clearly not my strong point, but as you can see, if you space that out over time, that's actually a good rate to be in, and that would be pretty friggin' sustainable for me to only be dropping 600 grams per week. Okay, so now you have the guides, now you're tracking progress, you are on the ball here, but what do you do when you actually hit a plateau? Because eventually it will happen. Very, very simple, as you can tell. This whole process should be nice and simple. You have two options. The first option is to lower your calorie intake. The second option is to increase your energy expenditure. Now, which one you should do is completely dependent on you, your personal preference, and honestly, your lifestyle. So to give you a rough guide, if you're someone that's already very, very active, you do a lot of daily steps, maybe you're a builder, you work on a site, you're probably gonna wanna lower your calorie intake because you're probably already burning a lot of calories on a daily basis or moving a lot on a daily basis. But if you're someone like myself, that works behind a desk all day and doesn't do that many steps, you could increase those daily steps before you lower your calories. Either way, you gotta eat less or move more to break that plateau. Now, how much should you do this by? Again, that's another question that depends, but I hate telling people that depends. So what I personally recommend, lower your calories by about 10% or increase your daily steps by at least 2,000 to 3,000 a day of what you're currently already doing. So if you're doing 7,000 steps a day, try to get to 10,000. That will make a huge difference across the week. Then simply keep tracking your progress like you already have been. It should start to come back off again. If you don't lose any more weight within 7 to 10 days, you probably didn't adjust enough and you're just gonna have to make a bit more of an adjustment. Step number 5 is gonna be the extras. Pretty much every other question you have looming in your head, we're gonna cover right now. First question is of course alcohol. Now, let's be honest, the less the better. Surely I don't need to tell you that, but if you love a coldie from time to time, you can of course still have this and still drop body fat. But you will have to make those beverages fit into your daily or weekly calories if you want to drop body fat and get shredded for summer. The second one is of course supplements. Just gonna get straight to the point here. If you are weight training and you're weight training hard, I would recommend taking creatine 3 to 5 grams a day, every single day. Just creatine monohydrate and you'll be sweet. The other supplement I would recommend is a good whey protein powder because it just makes hitting your protein target so much easier. It's actually cost effective compared to lean meats these days, and it just tastes pretty good in oats, like let's be real. Next one, cardio and burning more calories. Now cardio is of course very good for your heart health, so if you can sustain it, you enjoy it, then keep doing it for that reason. But if you want the best bang for buck in terms of calories burned on a daily basis, then I wouldn't recommend cardio. I'd recommend setting yourself a daily step target, as this is gonna make much more of an impact over the day and over the weeks than having set cardio routines. And more importantly, for like 95% of people, it's gonna be way more sustainable. You don't have to go to the gym and jump on a piece of cardio equipment. You don't have to buy a treadmill. You don't have to do any of that. You can literally just rack up daily steps however suits you best at whatever time suits you best. And the reason this helps so much is because your NEAT, which is your non-exercise activity thermogenesis, basically everything that you do that isn't structured exercise, so me fidgeting my hands right now, daily steps, that is the second biggest thing that determines how many calories you burn on a daily basis after who you are, also known as your BMR. So it makes a much bigger difference compared to doing like 30 minutes of cardio twice a week. The next one is of course sleep. Sleep is absolutely vital for our fat loss progress and for just general health. So let's be real, just don't pull all-nighters on a weekly basis and you'll be sweet. Simple. The last thing is the biggest mistakes that I see people making. There's usually 2 of them. The first one is having massive cheat meals or cheat days, AKA YOLO weekends. If you nail the first 5 days of your week and then just go absolutely YOLO on the weekend and do whatever you want, there's no chance that you're gonna make ongoing fat loss progress and actually get lean and lose body fat for summer. And the second mistake that I always see people make is simply not tracking everything. Like we went through earlier, tracking your calories is quite simple, but it is also pretty easy to miss out on a few things. So the most common things that I see is oils in your pan. If you're cooking with 1 to 2 to 3 tablespoons of oil a day, it's about 120 calories per tablespoon of oil. So you can clearly see that 20% deficit, good if I could speak, that 20% deficit that you created would be gone like that. And the other biggest thing that I see people miss is sauces and things like coffees. Milk in the coffees, sugar in the coffees. It's one of those things you've probably been doing every single day for the last 10 years. So when it comes to tracking it, you probably think like, it doesn't matter, you're just tracking your food. This can also rack up really fast as well. And that is the simple step-by-step guide. Now, as you can see, quite simple, but it's not easy. So just don't be fooled into bogus supplements, quick fix diets, hacks, and any sort of other BS that's promising something way too easy for insane results, because that's not how it works. Like I said, just focus on the first few steps we went through, nail the basics, don't worry about anything else, and you will get epic progress. That's all I personally focus on. That's what pretty much all of our clients focus on, and it works a treat. Hopefully that video is helpful, and if you want any of my free guides that will go into more detail and any of these topics we just went through, I'll pop them below. They're all free. Enjoy.